From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? What's up, world? It is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. And it is time to get into it. And let's go ahead and jump into our first topic at hand, and that's going to be the Bolt Report. The Bolt Report. Chargers in another thriller on the road to beat the Vikings, 28-24. It just seems like every single week the Chargers game is always going to be the same. It's going to be the Chargers going against a team, trying to beat that team, being in a situation where it calls for them to literally have to wait till the last seconds to actually win that game. Yesterday, the Chargers were fortunate enough to make a blunder and still correct that blunder as well, too. What happened was that once again, Coach Staley was back to his old ways of calling a 4th and 1 at his own 24 with about a minute left to go in the game, because the Chargers seemingly had to go ahead and do it so they wouldn't force themselves to even think about, giving up a touchdown late. But then they put themselves in a position where literally gave them a 25-yard. They were right at the 25-yard line once that did not work. But it's okay. Staley tried to give his team a chance to absolutely win the game, and you have to appreciate that. And what works out for them is they won the game. It does not matter. They won the game. And, you just got to take it for what it is. Even though they did lose Mike Williams for the season, he tore his ACL. He was pretty dejected on the sideline, so you had the feeling that it was going to be something more serious than just a few weeks. You kind of had the feeling that we were probably going to lose Mike Williams for the season. And, well, it's official. He's been lost for the season. Now, Herbert had one of the better games that anybody has had this year throwing the football. He went 40 for 47. Threw for 405 yards, completed 85% of his passes, threw for 3 touchdowns. He was sacked once, but still, he finishes up the game with the 123.8 QBR. And then Keenan Allen was able to throw in some history himself. Keenan Allen threw a 49-yard trick play touchdown yesterday. And that resulted in some history, because him and Jerry Rice are the only guys to catch 10-plus balls, go over 100-some-odd yards receiving, and then throw a 40-yard touchdown pass. And yesterday, Keenan put on an absolute clinic, probably, I think, 5th all-time game-wise. The guy had 18 receptions yesterday for 215 yards. I know that's probably not going to be talked about a lot this week, but that's incredible. And then Mike Williams was able to chip in 7 receptions himself for 121 yards. Josh Palmer scored a touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown, with 4 receptions and 66 yards. And then who was really good for them yesterday was Gerald Everett. Everett was really consistent in being able to get them first downs by getting the extra yardage that they needed. He only had 6 catches that only amounted to 30 yards, but every time he touched the ball, it was in a situation where it was to get a first down. Then Daniel Parham, a guy who actually got knocked out in the game a few years ago, he had 2 very short goal line touchdowns that were absolutely incredible themselves, because the accuracy and the degree of difficulty to make those catches. And then my last tidbit here is the real reason why they really won this game yesterday was a very impressive front 7 yesterday. Joey Bosa was able to add on to his sack total. He has 3 for the year now. He had a sack yesterday. But I'm really impressed with Morgan Fox and with this kid, Tua Pulotu. This guy is absolutely a beast as well, too. Tuli has been so good. And so these two really chipped it in yesterday, and they made for some great TV, and they really took care of their business. They went ahead, got 4 sacks yesterday. That was huge, and they've got 9 sacks over the last few weeks. The only thing that's killing the Chargers still, and it's every single week, is penalties and the back end of their defense. It's that simple. The Chargers could be a 3-0 team right now, being considered the best team in football. And pretty much it is funny. And then you don't talk crap to Keenan. Like, dog, stop talking. Got 18 balls on you. So that guy is probably going to get demoted this week. So pretty much we have that in store, I think. But all in all, you look at everything here, and the Chargers were just magnificent, man. They ran 64 plays to 78 and still wound up winning this game by 4 points. They weren't on the field longer than the Vikings either. It was about almost a 10-minute difference, and they still wound up winning this game. And they gave 29 first downs and still wound up winning this game. That's what makes this so incredible for the Chargers. But one thing is that they had a great passing game, but they had a terrible rushing attack going on, and that's going to have to get fixed. So we'll see how it goes. But all in all, I think that the Chargers are on the up and up, and we'll have more to talk about with them tomorrow on NFL Bet Exchange as they take on their rival Raiders to try to get themselves in the 500 category and to get their first division win of the season as well, too. So there's that. And the Chargers go ahead and get their first win of the year, 1-2 now. The Vikings drop to 0-3. But you know what? Viking fans, don't get too worried about it because you guys still have an opportunity to make some moves, make some noise, and you're still in a division that's fairly winnable. I know it sounds crazy today, but once again, it's only week 3 too, and we're still in September. You know, we're not winning Super Bowls in September, guys. Okay, and I keep stressing that to you guys a lot. So with that, let's move forward to our next topic, and this is going to be something new. The NFL Week 3 aftermath, and these are like my 6 takeaways, my 6 top storylines, and these are like quick hitters, so you guys just be ready for that. So no, I'm not going to be sitting up in here for 20 minutes talking about each and every one of these situations. But up first, you have the Dolphins drop 70 on the Broncos, win by 50. Are they the best in the NFL? Well, I will say this: for after week 3, I'll probably say yes, they're the best in the NFL. But when you look at it in the reality of the situation, they're still not anywhere near the Eagles or the Chiefs when it comes to the consistency and the chemistry of a team. But one thing when it comes to a team being fairly talented and being fun to watch, oh yeah, they are must-see TV right now. The Dolphins had 2 really tough games coming into this one, and you thought that this could possibly be, well, I thought it could possibly be a game where that they could kind of get caught slipping and wind up, getting beat by the Broncos in an opening home game and all that good stuff, because opening home games are tough, man, because you got these expectations now. You're coming in 2-0, you're trying to impress your fans, and still you go ahead and keep your focus on, and you absolutely crush the competition. But we all know that there was a lot of mistakes made early in that game, and it's just crazy how Miami really just could not be stopped. They scored on 8 out of their 9 drives, dude. And literally the last 2 touchdowns were the Broncos even on the field? Like, literally, they guys just gave up. And you could just tell that it was a long, hot day in Miami, and everybody just wanted to get back on the plane and go home. I've been there before. Because Miami, when you sit up there with 100-degree sun sitting on top of your head in that stadium is one of the worst stadiums in America. I've been there a few times, and I know how it totally feels. So I know how people were. But when you look at this game, 726 total yards for this team. Tua threw for 309 yards yesterday through the air. He finds himself already at 1,000 yards for the year passing. And right now, we can say that he is the early front runner for the MVP of the NFL. Like, you cannot even argue that point right now that Tua is the best quarterback in the league right now, not named Justin Herbert. Seriously, those two are actually, their rivalry started to make a whole lot of sense now. And, big shout out to the run game as well, too. They had 350 yards on the ground as well. Mostert was absolutely amazing. You had A-Chain, who was absolutely just a gem yesterday. It was just a great day. A lot of guys got their chance to really show out and show off exactly who they are. And the Dolphins are on the rise. They got a tough game coming up this week against the Bills. But at the end of the day, the Dolphins are back. And you know what? That's a really good thing for the NFL because people have to understand the Dolphins are one of the, I would say, they call them blue bloods in college. I would call the Dolphins one of the blue bloods of the NFL of the last 50 years. And everybody knows why. The only undefeated team. So, with that, let's move forward and talk about what happened in Cleveland. And in Cleveland, we had ourselves a fun day for Browns fans because they wind up showing out and showing off again. Is the Browns defense dominates again? Are they the best in the league? Well, the numbers say that they're the best in the league. The Browns gave up last week one touchdown via a 71-yard touchdown, okay? The other two touchdowns came from a mishaps, and those were defensive touchdowns. So the offense has given up one touchdown this year. One touchdown. And when you look at it, they've really only given up 19 points as a team. Like, not even 19 points, 16 points as overall, when you think about it, because they've given up 3 field goals and a touchdown. That's it this year. That's it. That's it. And that's just incredible. And yesterday they held the Titans to under 100 yards. 100 yards, not passing or running, 100 yards in total. That's an old school defensive performance. And no, there was no weather playing its ugly head into this game. They just absolutely went out there and crushed the Titans in a way that we've probably never seen the Browns. The Browns have never been a very consistent defensive team, but the last 3 weeks they've shown they are the best defense in the league, and there is no close second. Dallas showed that yesterday that it was a little bit smoke and mirrors here in the first 2 weeks of the season. The way that their matchup set up, it's set up for their defense to dominate. They go in there, they go against Arizona team. We'll talk about that in a minute, and they absolutely get shredded. The Browns yesterday, they went against a team with a far better offensive unit. And with the team that has one of the top 5 running backs in the league, and he's not number 5, and they went and absolutely decapitated them. There was you knew once the game went 13-3, you could end it right there. The Browns weren't giving up anything else for the rest of the day. This is absolutely incredible. When you look at the numbers, they're not even giving up that many first downs. They gave up, I think, 4 yesterday, possibly 6. That's how good they were yesterday. And last week, they gave up 9 against the Steelers in a loss. How does a team beat you with 9 first downs? The Browns were 23-6 in that disparity. The Browns only let them get 2 third downs. They were 2 for 12 in that category. And under 94 yards, 68 pass and 26 rushing, that's just pathetic. And what happens is that the Browns just keep on moving because they know that they can't sit here on that laurel, but they did everything correctly. They kept their offense out there for a long time that keeps their defense fresh. And that's exactly what happened for the Browns. And that moves them forward to 2-1 as one of the now more dangerous teams in the NFL moving forward. And now it looks like that they could become the favorite to win the AFC North this year if everybody's health can stay intact. We saw with what happened with Baltimore yesterday. It's the same old song with that team. So we'll see how it goes. But there's a lot of excitement in Cleveland right now. But everybody knows, and even their fans know, and they know too as a team, you have to bottle that in, and you just got to keep moving forward. You can't worry about, what's going to go on 3 weeks from now, what's going to go on for a month. We're not in the playoffs yet. You have to go ahead and think about the next game. And the next game is going to be now their toughest game of the season, because they're playing against another team that's really tough in the Baltimore Ravens and their division rival. And this would be their third division game in the first 4 weeks of the season. Very, very crucial game for them moving forward. All right. And with that, we'll move forward. So let's go ahead and jump into our next. And that's going to be CJ Stroud getting his first win of his NFL career. CJ Stroud made history as well, too. He's the third quarterback after Cam Newton and Justin Herbert to reach 900 yards in his first three games. And he did it. He had 2 games. His first 2 games, he was able to throw for, I think, 300 yards in both of those games. He actually, week 2, was the leader in all pass yards out of any quarterback. He hasn't thrown any interceptions yet either. So everything's looking really good, but the team's still 1-2. But yesterday was a full circle game, and I feel like it wasn't just about CJ Stroud leading their offense yesterday. It was a lot about the every single unit firing at will at the same time. Your defense was playing awesome yesterday. They really were the star of the game. Let's keep it real. The special teams was firing on all cylinders. They got a big punt return. They got a big kickoff return in that game as well. They were able to cover kicks very well as well, too. And then the offense was just complimentary towards those 2 units, in my opinion. And I feel like they did everything correct. And what happened was that the Jaguars put a little bit more extra pressure on themselves once they got down. And you know what? Houston just played it cool. They just went about their business and told themselves that we're going to be happy with whatever result we got because we're putting in a great effort today. And like their coach said, you guys went ahead and saved up some money, and then today we cashed out. And that's exactly what you saw. And you know what? You saw some good things coming in the final minutes of that Colts game the week before. People do not know this. Sometimes teams absolutely get it in a bad loss. You know what I mean? They'll wind up losing the game, but they'll make some really good plays there at the end of the game. And everybody, well, I wish they would have did it earlier. Well, they figured some things out. They figured out things that can work, and they're figuring out the things that can't work. And that's exactly what happened in Houston. And Houston came back, and they did absolutely tremendous yesterday because of that, because they had enough time to look at film, enough time to understand exactly what's going to work, what's not going to work, and they were able to get themselves a 20-point win against the team that's considered the best team in the division and the team that should be winning the division. Do you know that the Jaguars probably had the highest odds of anybody to win a division? Literally, they are saying that they will win the division with no problems. But we told you guys from day one, the AFC South is still a wide open division. You just can't hand a division to the Jaguars when everybody's kind of the same exact team. And you got a lot of different young quarterbacks in this group as well, too. You got CJ Stroud in Houston. You got Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. They're both rookies. Then you bring in a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who's the number 1 pick a few years ago, who has now the expectations to step into being an elite player. You have that in the fold as well, too. And then you have Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee, who's pretty much, if you really look at it, once you guys stop talking about all the other nonsense, he's probably the best quarterback in the division if you really look at the numbers of everything and who can you trust to really get you to the promised land. And pretty much we are in a spot right now where you have a division where anybody can win it. And that's where it makes the parity that much better in the NFL this year. But I truly do think that CJ Stroud just had a good moment. He showed that he belongs in the NFL. But I'm still going to say the jury's out because we have to understand the first 2 games, those were empty stats, like empty calories. You literally were playing in garbage time and you were able to get some things going and it looked really good and you were able to stat up. You know what I mean? You didn't win the game. You didn't do anything to really help you win the game, but the stats were amazing because you were looked good because you didn't stop trying. But that doesn't mean that you're one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. It means that it's not that hard for you to make the transition from college to the NFL because you're an NFL type player. You know what I mean? You go about your business like one. But that doesn't mean that he's arrived yet. There's still things that have to be worked on. And he has to get to the best stat of all, become an actual winner in the league. That game was more of a game where a team didn't take you as seriously as they should have. That's what I'm gonna stay with, and that's what I'm gonna roll with, and that's where we move on. So here we are. Let's go ahead and get into our next, and that's going to be this. That's going to be the Bears situation. I know my Chicago folks, they're very, very pissed off right now. I know you guys are. Bears continue to struggle. Is it Fields, the defense, or the coaching? Who is the problem? I'm going to keep it real with you. The biggest problem with this team right now is the coaching. I do not understand how these coaches have not been forewarned that they won't be having a job soon. Because after what happened yesterday in Chicago, you can easily tell that this team does not want to play for this coaching staff. They literally just refuse to even participate against the Chiefs, and I'm not going to put the blame on Justin Fields. Why? Look at the stats. Look at the stats. This team had 203 total yards. Justin Fields accounted for 145 of them. I'm going to say it again. 203 total yards. Justin Fields accounted for 145 of those yards. He's not your problem. He's not. Your problem is the play calling. Your problem is the playmakers that you've put around him. Your problem is that you're not understanding what the strength of your team truly is. You're supposed to be a running team. You should gear everything towards the run to set up timely passes, timely deep balls, the things that are to Justin's strength. But no, we want to sit up in here and play this Matt Ryan, Andrew Luck playbook that's not working. It's not working at all. And this coach was a no-name coordinator that they gave a head coaching job to. It happens in the NFL. Guys that get no publicity as coaches. And literally, they're just guys that did really well because the unit did really well. And they just go into interviews and they're able to floor these guys because they say yes to analytics. And they say yes to whatever that general manager or the person who's in control of the roster or in control of the play calling is going to want to do. Because if you guys think that the coach has final say on play calling, you must still believe in Santa Claus, because it's funny because when you get to your play calling, you get to your plays, the general manager thinks he has some say in that as well too, because he comes in with his whole room full of analytical people and they all think that they know more than the coach, a guy that's been doing this for 30, 40 years. You know what I mean? So this is where you get the confusion at. You have a team that's not being led. That's the biggest problem. And if the Bears have a bad defense, they're going to have a bad team. That's just history with the Bears. The Bears will never be a great team with a bad defense. It's just never going to happen. The Bears always have to have a superb defense to even think about competing at the end of the day, because their offense is always going to be the liability. And with Justin Fields, if you give him a little bit of talent, you could actually get away from that stigma of your offense being a liability. Justin Fields has been a star on every single level he's been at. And for some odd reason, it's not working here in Chicago, but he showed everybody what he's capable of doing. And so I truly do feel like if they're not going to fire this coach and fire people off the staff, they already fired the defensive coordinator. Okay. Well, he didn't get fired. He left supposedly because he had an incident, but we know he got fired. So pretty much you have it now to where the head coach head is on the chopping block, because if you walk into Chicago Sunday and winless Broncos team beats you down just like the Chiefs just did oh, heads are going to roll Monday morning. The guy might not even make it to the locker room, dude, if he makes it past this week. Because if I was the general manager, the owner, I'm not into saying let's fire the coach, let's get rid of the coach, let's do this, that, and the third. But this situation right here, you have to send a message. You have to send the message that nobody's job is safe here anymore. But I also feel that if you feel like Justin Fields isn't your guy, it's the best time to get assets for him. It's the best time to get rid of him, okay? Because Justin Fields can be used for so many teams in the NFL the right way. And if it's not going to happen here in Chicago, you might as well just wash your hands with the situation and not keep forcing this thing. Not keep forcing this on your fans, not keep forcing this on this man's career. Just figure out a way to get him somewhere where it's going to be comfortable or a fit, or figure out a way to simplify the game plan to where you can start actually competing in football games. It's an absolute embarrassment. That's what's happening to the Chicago Bears at this point. And with that, we move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about something that's even more embarrassing, and that's going to be none other than the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys wind up Dallas winds up being beat yesterday by the Cardinals. The Cardinals are the hardest playing, scrappiest team in the NFL. They're now 3-0 against the spread. And I was silly enough to believe the hype too with the Dallas, that they had this new super duper defense that is just off the hook, can make stops, only gave up 10 points for the season. You know, they are playing absolutely tremendous football on both sides of the ball. And they just pretty much look dominant. They look like the Super Boys. And when you look at who they played against, you say to yourself, the Giants are going to struggle this year. They're definitely going to struggle this year. They're 1-2. The Jets pretty much were a wrap after Aaron Rodgers went out. And so then you run into a team with no expectations, a team that feels that they're a long standing rival of yours, even though y'all don't play in the same division anymore. If you know the NFL, if you're as old as me or older, you know that the Cardinals used to be in the NFC East, and they used to play against all these guys. They used to play against every single one of them, and they're playing against every single one of them this year. And it's funny, they opened up their season against 3 of them. They played the Commanders week 1, they played the Giants week 2, and they played the Cowboys week 3. It was like going back down memory lane. They used to literally set up Arizona's schedule just like this. And pretty much what happens is that you had a team that had to start their season out on the road, no expectations. They wound up damn near winning that game. Last week, they had the same scenario going on with the Giants, but they didn't finish the game. The Cowboys kept dimming and dying, playing patty cake with them. And I could tell you right when the Cowboys lost the game. In the third quarter, when they could have kicked the kick and made it, I think, 16-21, they went for it to try to tie the game. Then you come back down and you kick a field goal. You know, they found themselves in the red zone 4 different times with an opportunity to kick field goals down 13-21. Just kick 4 field goals, dude. Seriously. Don't make it that hard on yourself, because you know who you're playing. You're playing a team. Once you get the lead, you'll win the game. They don't know what to do once they lose the lead. That's how it is for bad teams. But when they have the lead, they're going to try to keep it for as long as possible. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. And people have to understand, Arizona circled this game as their Super Bowl. They knew that they were going to get a sellout crowd. They knew that they were going to have their faithful showing up. They know that they were going to have a lot of Cowboys fans in town over the weekend, or people who just showing up from Tucson or Tempe who live out there already. And pretty much they knew this was their biggest game of the season. The Cowboys looked at this as just playing against the Cardinals. And that's what happens. The Cowboys have to take on the attitude that It's them against the world. Nothing is promised for us. We are not entitled to anything. We are the most hated team. We're not America's team. We are the most hated team. And they don't use that mantra enough. But I think I got to go back to what a lot of my buddies who are Cowboys fans are saying. Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott. He's a good leader. He got a good head on his shoulders. But when it comes to performing and being the man, for real, he ain't it. He's just not. It's just simple. Tony Romo, same way. It's just he's a little bit more athletic. It's the same damn song for the Dallas Cowboys at the end of the day. And I know one thing, going and getting Trey Lance now, it makes total sense. You get Dak's backup ready because Jerry's ready to move on. This is a make or break season for Dak Prescott and for Mike McCarthy. Literally. So we'll see how it goes. But this loss right here does not look good in Jerry's office. I'm going to keep it real with you. Jerry is not going to be feeling none of this. So we move forward. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the last subject when it comes to NFL Week 3 aftermath. And that's going to be this. And that's going to be Mr. New England himself, Mr. Bill's favorite student, Mr. Josh McDaniels. Will the Raiders consider firing McDaniels after the latest decision-making blunder? Dude, if Al Davis was still alive, they would have fired this dude on the field. I'm going to be dead honest with you. They would have fired him on the field because that was pathetic yesterday. The Raiders had an opportunity to tie the game. They're at the 8-yard line. You got plenty of time. He decides to kick a field goal. So if you kick a field goal, he could come back. You got 3 timeouts. You could come back. You can get the stops, and then you can come back and try to win the game. But you always needed a touchdown. It's just befuddling how dumb of a call that was. And really, it wasn't a dumb call. I understand where his mind was at. He made a call, the same type of call you would have made back in 1933 or something like that. That's an old school conservative call. And in today's NFL, when you're in the fourth quarter, you don't make those type of calls. You got teams that will go for it on every single opportunity that they get in that area in a fourth quarter. And you sat up in here and kicked the field goal with the idea that you guys could get 3 stops and then get a punt off. Dude, do you know who you're coaching? You're coaching the Raiders. This isn't the Patriots. This isn't the Chiefs. This isn't teams that play disciplined. The Raiders got hit with a 72-yard touchdown last night. Why would you think they would get some stops? This coach is not playing to win. Seriously, he's not. This coach is playing to frustrate fans. This guy's playing to show that he's in control of a team. And this is the same exact nonsense that got this man fired in Denver. And he's at it again. And it's bad. Really bad. He gets rid of their franchise quarterback in Derek Carr. When you kind of look at it, it's not that bad of a deal. Because guess what happened yesterday? Saints had a double-digit lead. He got knocked out. Guess what happened? They lost a double-digit lead. That was the story of Derek Carr's career last year. And it moved on over to New Orleans. So what to do next? But this man, he wasted a great effort from Devontae Adams last night. Jimmy G was making some bad decisions that he usually don't make. He was pressing it. He was forcing it. And that's because Jimmy G's head was bouncing all over the place. I think he had a concussion, but we still just rolled with it. So it was a lot of things that just went wrong last night with the Raiders, and they made a valiant effort to come back in that game, but they were just a trash team last night. I'm sorry. They just were not good last night. And a lot of things, you look at it, you say to yourself, this is not the way to go at all. It's not. This is not the way that Al envisioned his team. This is not the way that Mark Davis wants to reward his loyal fans with. This is just the Raiders literally just stealing money now, in my opinion. You know what I mean? You put on a good show at your pretty stadium in Vegas. You have a great fan base, and the Steelers crowd come on out, hang out, and pretty much we just got the Blue Man Group. It don't matter who win. We just have fun at the game. Raider fans ain't going for none of that, man. So something has to give at the end of the day. Something has to give. Josh McDaniels needs to be put on alert this week that if he don't get this thing fixed and the Raiders simply lose by 21 points or more, he's fired. He's done. He's through. He's cooked. Because I hate to say it, I got the feeling that the Raiders are going to get absolutely stomped out come Sunday because they don't believe in this coach. They don't believe in this franchise. They don't believe in this ownership. They just over here collecting money now. It's that simple. And yeah, they gave out a great effort last night for the fans. They didn't do that for the coaches. They did that for the fans because they're being led by an absolute moron. Let's keep it real. And it is what it is. Josh McDaniels has one of the worst reputations in the NFL when it comes to being a head coach. And Mike said this on his show. Mike's an NFL agent. When he says something like that, it's true because he talks to people in the league. You know what I mean? It's not some internet foil talk. You know what I mean? So pretty much Josh McDaniels is a guy that should never, ever be asked to be a head coach ever again on the NFL level. He is a high school coach for real. Not even a college coach. He's a high school coach. You know what I mean? And you just gotta cut bait, bro. You just gotta cut weight, dog, and get rid of this dude. But Mark Davis isn't gonna do it because Mark Davis likes the way that the guy compliments his haircut, probably. I don't know. But at the end of the day, the Raiders are struggling and it's a bad look. But that's going to be a wrap on our NFL Week 3 aftermath. And I went a lot longer than I wanted to, but you know what? We moving and grooving. You know, this is my show, so I can do what I want. So pretty much let's jump into the AP Top 25. And the AP Top 25, we have ourselves a very, very interesting group here. You know what I mean? Some teams are out now. You know, UCLA lost. They were only number 24, so they lost this week, so they're out. You know, Washington State moves up because they got a good win this week. And let me check to see if Colorado, the elusive Colorado Buffs, are out yet, because I really never thought they should have been ranked, but they did that because it did make a little sense to have them ranked because they did beat a TCU team that was a ranked team at the beginning of the year. They also beat a Nebraska team that was considered an improved Nebraska team in a rivalry game. And then Colorado State was a game that was more of a tune-up situation for Colorado, but it could possibly, if you didn't have Deion as the coach, it would have served as a tune-up situation for Colorado State. That's how bad Colorado was before Deion got here. But I'm looking at it now. I'm going to go from 25 to 1. You have Fresno State entering the top 25 this week, 4-0. And you have Kansas entering the top 25 this week, and Missouri. All these teams were not in the top 25 last week. Florida is now number 22 in the nation. Tennessee's number 21 in the nation. Ole Miss is dropped down to number 20 in the nation. Oregon State doesn't get dropped out the top 25, but they drop down to number 19. You have Miami moving up to number 18, right behind Duke. Duke is now number 17. Washington State moves up to number 16. I think they should have been a little higher, but you know how it goes. And then you have North Carolina coming fresh off of another really good win. They're number 15. Oklahoma didn't really move up too much. They're number 14 in the nation at this point. You got LSU. You know, they lost opening weekend, so they had to move themselves back up. They had a too close of a game, so they wind up falling to number 13, which is not bad. And then you have Alabama going from 10 to 12. Alabama, even though they did beat Ole Miss, it still was just, I guess people just aren't that impressed. Notre Dame only drops 2 spots to number 11. I felt like Notre Dame damn near shouldn't even got moved out of number 9 because they played in a game that was like a game, a real game. That game was exciting, man. It was a buzzer beater for Ohio State. Just OMG. You like, let's do it again. That's what my whole reaction was like, let's do it again. I can't wait. Hopefully this can be in the final 4 of the bowl year. But this is why it's so fun when the best play the best early in the year. Because like I said, they turn it into their own little NCAA March Madness tournament when you have the best play the best in the season. And usually Ohio State's the team that plays the best of the best in the season. So that was a good look. Both those teams didn't do anything but add to their resume. You got Utah number 10, a little disrespectful. Utah should be the number, should be where USC's at. USC's now number 8 in the nation after a lackluster win over Arizona State. But I felt like being number 5 was a bit too much for them anyway. But you have 4 Pac-12 teams, 7 through 10. You got Utah at 10, you got Oregon at 9, you got USC at 8, and you got Washington at 7. I know why Washington's ahead of everybody because Washington's had the most impressive victories. But when you see the team that's had the most consistency, it's going to be Utah. So Utah, to me, is really the team that should be the 7th-ranked team in the nation. But really, they could be the 6th-ranked team in the nation when I look at Penn State. So that's where we're going with that. And then we have Florida State, who's not 4-0 right now. They go from number 3 to number 5. Ohio State goes up 2 rankings to number 4. And then you have Texas, who goes up from number 4 down to number 3. And then Michigan and Georgia are still 1 and 2. So that's this week's AP Top 25. And expect this to be shaking up some more, because we did lose some teams this week. And I will not be put it past anybody that we're going to lose some teams this week as well, too. Colorado and UCLA find themselves out of the top 25 this week, but that might be some extra motivation for those teams as well, too. So let's go ahead and jump into our next topic in hand, and that's going to be this. That's going to be Big Bang Zhang ends rematch with Juggernaut Joe Joyce in 3 rounds. Well, man, I'm going to tell you, that was absolutely incredible because Mr. Big Bang, he was Big Bang. That boy is something else. And I think that he has arrived as the premier heavyweight that's not a world champion, that's not named Deontay Wilder, that's not named Andy Ruiz, that's not named who else? Big Baby Anderson. But really, Big Bang Zhang presents problems to the whole weight class. But Joe Joyce might be the most ready-made opponent for a guy like Zhang. He doesn't move his head enough. He wants to bang with you. He wants to out-bang you, all that good stuff. Well, what happened was he couldn't out-bang the Big Bang. You know what I mean? And Big Bang ended this fight with one convincing punch. It just literally, he knocked the sweat off this guy. And pretty much, man, it sounded like he got hit with a baseball bat. That's how hard the punch was from Big Bang Zhang. And I don't even mean to like cheerlead like this, but the dude that was incredible. But you like Zhang's attitude coming into both of the fights. Zhang was not taken seriously in the first fight. They saw him as an opponent for Joe Joyce on the come up for your next fight, possibly with Usyk. Everybody felt that if he beats Big Bang, Usyk has to give him the fight. He could order the fight against Usyk because he would have been the WBO mandatory because that's what the fight was. Now Big Bang has went ahead and toppled him twice. The first time around, he just beat him down and they stopped the fight. This time around, he ended the fight. He literally said, we not going all night with this. I got things to do. And he went ahead and parked this boy like a 1989 Hyundai XL with no battery. So, man, that was absolutely tremendous. That was absolutely incredible. And what I say right now is we want Zhang to get a bigger fight next. You would love to see him fight Usyk because right now he would be the Usyk mandatory if he wanted to go ahead and go through the WBO. But we know the WBO will probably protect him. So Zhang will probably have to look at the prospects of a heroic rematch, possibly a prospect of fighting a FA Ajabe, possibly. But the fight I would love to see him in would be with Big Baby Anderson in the little room at MSG, and I think that's an automatic sellout. And I know to do 2.5 million on ESPN. I just know it will. But you would have to show that fight on a certain day. You wouldn't have, I wouldn't say put the fight on a Saturday. I would say put the fight on a Thursday, Friday night, a night you know that you're going to have eyes on boxing. You don't want to put this fight up against, college football or the NBA or anything like that. But if we were even thinking about a fight like that, knowing the way that they schedule fights, this fight probably wouldn't happen for probably until mid-May next year. But in the old days, in the heavyweights, after you saw Big Baby Anderson have his win, and then you see Big Bang get his win, you set this fight up by December. But we're in a new world of boxing. It's more business than actual fighting. So it is what it is at the end of the day. But with all that, we are going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. I'm about 20 minutes overdue. So you guys stay with me. When I get back, we're going to talk some baseball, and then we got Talkin Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and I'll be right back at you in a few.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another, and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Let's go ahead and jump into baseball, and we got Blue Crew Daily up first. Dodgers in Giants season, taking 3 out of 4 over the weekend. What's next? What's next? Y'all remember that Tupac song? What's next? That's how I'm feeling right now with the Dodgers. What's next? And what's next is going to be this. The Dodgers really are a team that seriously has, dominated the National League. They've dominated baseball. And them going ahead and ending the Giants season, that was sweeter than a lot of things the Dodgers have done this season. You know what I mean? It's always fun taking out your arch rival, because if it was the other way around, the Giants will be bathing in that as well too. And I think that was the best way for the Dodgers to know that when we get to the playoffs, we got to approach these teams just like we approach the Giants. We got to win the series. We got to win the series. And that's what the Dodgers mentality has been all year long. We got to win the series. It's not about sweeping. It's about winning the series. And that's exactly what the Dodgers have done. That's why I say, what's next? What's next is the playoffs. And you take it one game at a time, and you try to get yourself to the promised land. Also, what you got to do is you have to make sure that all your soldiers are intact. So the Dodgers this week will probably be resting a lot of their star players, guys that are very valuable to their playoff run, and then getting guys time that have been out for a bit or just need to get some time in so then they can get back into the flow of things. But the Dodgers have everything in place that you need to win a World Series this year. Only thing stopping the Dodgers from doing any of that would be themselves. And that's how I'm feeling right now. I know pitching is not where a lot of people want it to be. I know that you look at the positioning and you say to yourself, are we really that good with our middle infielders this year, defensive wise? We'll have to see. But all in all, though, it comes down to the chemistry. It comes down to the belief. And it also comes down to everybody being accountable. And the Dodgers have everything lined up the right way. This is the right group. This is the right situation. You got former World Series champs. You got former MVPs. You got former Cy Youngs all over the place with this team. The Dodgers probably have not had this many guys with this great of resumes ever on one team. And it just goes to show you over time how well the Dodgers are when it comes to right now and to the long term. They're in a good shape. They're in a good place. And that's why we ask, what's next? What's next is chasing that ring. We're at that point now. Don't worry about being the number one seed. Just get in the playoffs, handle your business. That's all you need to do. But we'll have some more to talk about tomorrow because we'll have a game to talk about tomorrow. So, with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up on the Dodgers. All right, so let's jump into the MLB Pennant Race. The MLB Pennant Race is looking really, really, really figured out by this point, but we do have teams still chasing their division. We still have teams still chasing final wild card spots or the final two wild card spots. So we have it to where it's still a good race going on. You got Seattle, who's on the outside looking in, but they find themselves 2 games behind Toronto, and they find themselves a half a game behind the Astros. And then they find themselves 2.5 games behind the Texas Rangers, who now are in first place in the division. And actually, that's 3 games. I'm sorry. So the Rangers pretty much take over the second to last weekend. And it was crazy because it was Houston last weekend. And the weekend before that, it was Seattle. So you can see the musical chairs happening with this group. But one bad thing though is that Houston's lost their last 7 out of 10 games, and guess what? They got swept at home this weekend by the Royals. They've lost their last 5 out of 6 games, and you know what? They lost the series to the Royals last weekend too. So they wind up losing. So pretty much they've lost their last, like I just said, they've lost their last 7 out of 10. But in their last 3 series, they have been even worse. They've actually sat up in here and they went in both of those series, they went 2-7. That's not good. You know what I mean? And that's just not good. And they lost the series to the A's as well, too. They've been pathetic since September 11th. Like, they've been bad. And will they be able to fix this? Because they got Seattle for the next 3 games. And then they got Arizona for the end of the season. That's a really, really tough game because you got Arizona chasing a playoff spot as well, too. Arizona finds themselves as the number 2 team in the wild card spot, but they're only a half a game ahead of Chicago, who's only a game ahead of Miami, who's only 2.5 games, and Cincinnati's 2.5 games behind the Cubs. So we really do have a crazy final week coming up. And it looks like the Reds may be out of this thing. But they still got an opportunity. They still got a chance. That's the great part about, baseball. But you look at them, they have 2 more games left this week, and they got 5 games left this week. They really do need to win all 5 of them. They got the Guardians and the Cardinals coming up. You have the Cubs. You have the Cubs who are hanging on by a thread, even though they worked themselves back into the playoff picture, got themselves into the playoffs. It's still a struggle because everybody has to understand they did lose at one point 5 in a row this month, and they've bounced back, winning their last 3 out of 5. But they lost the last 3 series as well too until last weekend when they beat Colorado. Now they got to go against Atlanta in Atlanta and then finish the year with Milwaukee. So this is going to be a tough ask for Chicago. But Chicago seems like they're up for it, and you're not playing Atlanta's A team. You're playing Atlanta's B team in that spot, in my opinion. All right, you got Philly, who's pretty much sitting pretty. They're waiting to clinch, okay? They're waiting to clinch. They've won their last 5 in a row, and they've won their last 6 out of 8 as well, too. So they're feeling good. They're feeling really good. Actually, they've won their last 8 out of 10. So they got Pittsburgh and New York. So pretty much they just need to break even, and they're going to make the playoffs. You know, the only catastrophic fall for them is if they lost 6 games in a row. You know what I mean? And I don't see that happening. You know, teams won their last 8 out of 10. They should be good. And then you see the American League. The American League is a little more crazier because you have a Seattle team that's a half a game out. You have Houston who's in, but they're 2 games behind Toronto, and then they're 2.5 games behind the Rangers. And they just got swept this weekend, and the Rangers just swept the Mariners this weekend. It's just crazy, dude, because the Mariners still kind of didn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? That just meant that the Mariners were actually the leaders of the clubhouse. So pretty much you don't have the West settled yet, and you don't have the final 2 playoff spots settled yet. But it's now only between 3 teams instead of being 5 teams. The Yankees and the Red Sox are out of this thing. They're done. Cleveland's been done for some time now. And, you know, Detroit, Angels, White Sox, all these guys were done months ago. But the Angels still one of the more sadder stories because they went all in at the trade deadline and still didn't get anything out of it. So pretty much with that, this is my final week predictions. I feel that what's going to happen is Chicago stays in for the playoffs. Also, Arizona stays in for the playoffs as well too. I think that the Reds and the Marlins fall short on making the playoffs. And then I feel like I got to stay with it. The Mariners have the best week ever and win both of these very important series that they have going on. Astros, then Rangers. They've been put in position. They got 6 home games coming up. Final 6 game homestand. One of the more important homestands for this team over the last 20 years. And let's see how it goes. Last time they had to do some magic, they did it. We all remember when they beat the Angels, went to the playoffs, found themselves in the championship series, lost to the Indians. But, you know, time will tell. So with that, that's going to be a wrap on our pennant race, and we'll have more to talk about this week. I have guests. We'll talk about it this week as well too. But the MLB is very exciting, and this will be one of the MLB's more exciting finishes this week as well too. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into tonight's game real quick. We got the Rangers and the Angels to kick off things for us tonight at the Big A tonight. The Angels could play the spoiler 70-86. This team, ever since they went on their nice little run at one point, found themselves in the playoff position, all that good stuff. I think even they were atop of the division for a few days too. But this team has been absolutely lousy since that point. Like, they've been really, really bad since that point. So, you know, there's nothing to go but up from here, and they could play a spoiler easily. Teams love playing spoiler. Like, if I'm not going to the playoffs, you're not going to the playoffs. That's like how it is in these divisions. But the Rangers are playing with the attitude that this is the playoffs right here. This is a playoff game. The Angels are looking at this game as if, you know what, let's just get through it. If we win tonight, cool. If we don't, cool. So I truly feel when you don't have much to lose in the MLB, you're the more dangerous team. I feel like the Rangers might press this situation a little bit. John Gray has really never been in this spot before where he's playing for the playoffs. You know what I mean? He's always been a guy that's been able to be comfortable because who he played for. He played for a bad Rangers team last year, and he also played for the Rockies. So you know that he's used to not being in winning situations, but they've been good all year, and he's been good all year in these spots. But this is this week. This is the final week of the season. Does fatigue catch up? Does the mental catch up? A lot of things going to this game. I really truly feel that you got to put your money where your mouth is and you take the Angels tonight. I like them a lot. I'm taking them with the plus 155. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. Now we have the Astros and the Mariners in the game of the night. And this one should be a very, very challenging game because both these teams are hungry. Houston knows they're hanging on by a thread. They are hanging on by a thread right now. The Mariners know that they got 6 opportunities, really not even 6. They got 4. They got to win the next 4 out of 6 to guarantee playoffs. And 2 out of 3 of them got to come here. 2 out of the 3 of them got to come here. But if you're thinking like Seattle, you want to win all 6. It's going to be tough, but you want to win all 6. If you're thinking like the Astros, you want to win all 6. This game is going to be intense tonight. I can't wait. But I feel like the Mariners are going to actually take this one to the bank and get themselves a good win. They got the better pitcher on the mound. They're the team that's just got swept, even though the Astros just got swept too. But you got to understand, the Astros got swept at home. The Mariners got swept on the road. The Astros' confidence is a little shaken. The Mariners are a little like, well, at least we didn't fall that far behind. I got to go with the team that feels they didn't fall that far behind. So I like the Mariners tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And that's going to be Astros Mariners. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take one final break. And when I get back, we're going to jump into Talking Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. So let's go ahead, jump into our final topic, and that's going to be Talking Tickets. Talking Tickets, oh man, this one is going to be pretty cool. So we have the Angels money line tonight, plus 155, 11-1. On this ticket as well too. We got the Mariners plus 170. Need them to win by 2 or more runs. And then we're going to be a little risque tonight with the over 6.5. I know that is set to be a pitcher's duel, but I feel like the Padres and Giants are going to be going back and forth, getting us some runs tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, we got ourselves the Monday Night Football ESPN bets to start us off. I got the Bengals with the minus 2.5 tonight. From what I'm hearing, everything should be a go for Joe Burrow. Only thing that will possibly keep him out the game tonight is a possible setback, but we'll see. But it's a game time decision still. You know, they don't want to say that out loud, but it is still a game time decision. And we'll know about 30 minutes before kickoff if he's playing or not. We know that the Rams have already prepared themselves for Joe Burrow tonight, so it's whatever. It should be a great game. But we got the Bengals still winning this game 2.5. I feel like defense is going to step it up for them tonight, and they'll get some love from Joe Mixon as well too. Then we have the over 22 first half. This should be another really strong play as well too. We'll see how this one sets up, but I do like the over 22 first half as well. I got the Bengals first quarter setting the tone very early in this game and getting us right moving forward. And then I got the Bengals actually winning this game by a touchdown or better, and we'll get plus 135 if that is to happen. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, and we move forward from there. All right, we have ourselves the Monday Night Football ABC bets. And I know I probably – well, no, I didn't do it wrong because this is – that game is on ABC tonight. So we got the Eagles minus 5.5 tonight. The Eagles have probably been the most dominant team in the NFL to start the year. Even though, they only won by 6 against Minnesota, they dominated them throughout the game, so it didn't matter. You got the Eagles first half minus 3 as well. And then I like the over 7.5 first quarter. And then I'm taking the Eagles over 26.5 team total as well too. So that's going to be our bets for tonight in the NFL and the MLB. So with that, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know that I went a little bit longer on things than I assumed I would do, but hopefully we got enough information out and enough talk out about football and everything like that. Today, there was a lot to talk about in the NFL, and I feel like we're now at week 3, so now we got actual storylines that actually make sense now. You can't, make up storylines after the first 2 weeks and say, oh, this, that, and the third, because really the first 2 weeks of the season are damn near a preseason extra. You know what I mean? A lot of guys are still trying to figure things out, but by the time we get to week 3, everybody's pretty much in football shape. Everybody's in the mentality that it's a win now situation, and we go from there. So with that, once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys are the absolute best, as I always say. And because as I always say, I just did what it say as I always say twice in a row. But you guys already know, man. Bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And I'll be right back at you tomorrow. We got a whole bunch to talk about then as well too. So you guys make sure you tune in. And man, as I always say to you guys, just keep going about your business. Don't worry about who's paying attention, who's not paying, who's paying attention, who's not paying attention. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just continue your mission and keep winning the day. That's all you got to do. Okay. Just want to leave you guys with some wise words before I'm out of here. So pretty much with that, that's a wrap on the show today. And I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.